Hi, this is James Gordon October Library here for book review. Today's book I'm reviewing today, Battlefield Earth by L. Ron Hubbard. This was first published by St. Martin's Press on February the 1st, 1982. This edition is from Bridge Publication, and I think this is either a 1995 edition. Um, as it states, it has the cover from 1984, which is a really nice cover. I like this cover over the original. All right. This was a surprisingly entertaining, fun book. I wasn't sure what to expect from this book when I began reading it. I know the film of the same name is atrocious. It is terrible. I was actually thinking watching the movie once just to see what it was like, but after watching one review that basically showed how awful the film Battlefield Earth is, I decided not to watch it and was told by fans of the book, don't see the movie. Read the book, it's better. And they were right. To my surprise, this was actually a really fun, entertaining book. It's very well written. It's got good characters. It's got a lot of interesting action set pieces. Features a lot of locations and stuff, so it doesn't take place in one place. It's constantly like going somewhere all the time. And overall, I had fun with this book. It reminds me of the old pop era of science fiction mixed with an 80s action flick. That's what it makes me think of. And this was a really fun book. Despite all that, though, there were some things I didn't like with this book. It had some unwanted filler and other things I didn't like about it, which I'll explain later on in my review. And the one thing I do not like about this book is how thick it is. I I find it way too long, and towards the end when I was finishing reading this book, my fingers were getting sore as they are now just trying to hold this book up. I enjoyed it. It was fun, but ooh, this book, I think it could have been shorter. It was a bit too long when it didn't need to be, but I'll explain that later on in my review. All right, on to the review and spoiler alert, as I will give away crucial details within the story. Plot: in the year of 3000, Earth was invaded by a powerful and deadly alien race known as Cyclos, and have nearly driven the human race to extinction along with sending them back to the Stone Age. Standing at 9 feet tall with amber-colored eyes, hairy bodies with shifting bony plates with limited range of expression, paws with sharp talons as they have a sixth talon on their right paw hands. The Cyclos are cruel, ruthless, yet very smart. However, Cyclos can't breathe air, so they wear a mask that feeds them gas. They have ruled Earth for over 1,000 years. One such Cyclo, Turo, Chief of Planetary Security, is assigned to Earth by Nunf, head of the mining operations, and is tasked with to mine for gold. However, Turo has other ideas. He plans to capture humans and force them to mine the Rocky Mountains for gold so he can sell it and quickly become a multimillionaire as he's grown jealous of Nunf's power and wealth. Meanwhile, in the Rocky Mountains of Denver, Johnny Goodboy Taylor is depressed with the death of his father and has become restless and bored living in the cramped caves and what ruins of human history is left. After having a bad funeral with other tribes people and not showing their respect for his father, Johnny blames himself, believing the caves are what led to his father's poor health, as he wished he made him leave and doesn't want to spend the rest of his life wasting away in those caves. Johnny plans to explore the world as he's never seen it before, as hardly anyone remembers what the old world was like. Chrissy, a very young and beautiful woman, doesn't want Johnny to leave, but he promises her he'll return back within a year. However, he is warned about monsters which Johnny dismisses as fairy tales. Turo is able to get a hold of a Mach 2 ground car from Zipped, a Cyclo working in the mines, along with enough weapons, ammo, and supplies to last him 5 days. He travels towards Denver and plans to find and capture as many humans as he can, with the aid of drones to scan the area around the Rocky Mountains. He also wants to make sure nobody else finds out what his true motives are. Traveling on his horse Windsplitter, Johnny roams through the forest, seeing more wildlife than before, such as wild pigs. He is able to sneak up one and use his club, killing it and eat it, and spends the night in the forest. Johnny continues to explore the ruins of his city while finding old relics from the past. While traveling down an empty road, Johnny is suddenly chased by a flying ship. He tries to escape it with Wind Splitter, but the ship blows up nearby buildings and creates a wall of fire trapping him. He throws his club at it, which has no effect, and fires a stun shot, knocking him off his horse. Turo exits the Mach 2 ground car and finds Johnny lying unconscious along with his horse. Turo picks him up and brings him back to his guard post and places Johnny inside a cage. He tries a series of knots and is amazed to see Johnny untie each knot till he puts a metal collar and chain around him to ensure he doesn't escape. But runs into a problem as he's unsure what to feed the human as it's growing weaker. Turo arouses Johnny to escape and studies him as he wanders off and finds a rat to eat. Turo captures Johnny again but uses a net and brings him back to the guard post. Turo begins teaching Johnny the alphabet in both English and Cyclo language with the aid of the learning machine. And each time Johnny does what Turo wants, he feeds him a rat. However, Johnny learns the Cyclos were the ones behind the invasion of Earth and nearly wiping out the human race. When Turo is called in for a report on his posting with Nunf and wanting to know why Turo hasn't begun mining yet, Taro explains he's captured a human and convinces Nunf that they can cut their budget and avoid losing more Cyclo workers by using humans as slaves to mine for them, along with avoiding the risk of causing explosions since the gas Cyclos breathe is highly explosive when in contact with iridium, which has killed several workers. Humans, on the other hand, don't have to worry about this risk. Nuff is skeptical, but Terrell adds he's been teaching it only to use machines. Nuff wants to see this human for himself, and if he can prove himself useful to the Cyclos, he'll agree to give Terrell a transport ship to capture and trade more humans. When Terrell checks on Johnny, it can speak full Cyclo language and tells him he wants better food than raw rats, and his name is Johnny and not Animal. Impressed, Terrell reveals his name to him. Terrell brings Johnny to meet Nunf and has him put on a breathing mask with 2 air tanks from an alien race the Cyclos wiped out years ago, Chinkos. As he tells him they're about to enter a dome that's pumping in gas since humans can't breathe it. Johnny also learns the Cyclos can't breathe air, but warns him not to speak unless he wants them to, and if he disobeys him, Terrell will pull off Johnny's mask and let him choke on the gas. When Terrell shows Nunf the man-thing he captured, Nunf dislikes how humans smell and keeps asking him if it peed on his floor. However, Terrell ignores this and explains to Nunf what he's taught him, and stating they can cut their budget costs down by enslaving humans to work in the mines, as it will be cheaper for them and easily can train all humans to use their mining machines. Nunf wants to hear Johnny speak, to which he responds what Terrell needs. Impressed, Nunf agrees to Terrell's deal. Terrell begins training Johnny using other vehicles along with the history of the human race. Johnny is rewarded with better food, new clothes, and is given firewood allowing him to cook his food. However, while Terrell is having Johnny use a blade machine to prove his usefulness of humans, the blade machine suddenly malfunctions and nearly goes over the edge of a cliff as Johnny and Terrell jump out as it explodes. Terrell finds out Zint has sabotaged it along with placing a firebomb on it, fearing he'll lose his job to a human. However, with no proof, Terrell is unable to charge Zit. However, Terrell blackmails Zip by purposely losing in a gambling match with another Cyclo, Chambo, of 500 credits. Terrell then takes the credits and places it into Zip's room. When Chambo reports his money has been stolen, Terrell shows him the recorded footage of Zip taking it. Taking Chambo with him and armed with a battle rifle, he threatens Zip to hand over Chambo's money, then forces Zip to give him a Mach 3 ground car, 2 battle planes, 3 personal freighters, and other supplies, or he'll show the footage to Nunf. Zip gives Terrell what he wants. After learning some more history of Cyclos, Terrell takes Johnny out for a drive in his new Mach 3 ground car and goes through the ruins of Denver till they reach the forest. Johnny watches in horror as Terrell uses a battle rifle on cattle by blowing off their legs and using Johnny's club to finish them off. Suddenly, a bear appears, which knocks Terrell's down. Johnny uses both the battle rifle and club against the bear, killing it. Terrell is impressed by this, but isn't happy when Johnny brings pieces of the bear meat into the ground car, as he doesn't want it to stink. While learning more on Cyclo history along with other machines, Johnny befriends Kerr, a midget Cyclo standing at 7 feet tall, but is very strong and likes talking a lot. Terrell made a deal with Kerr to avoid charges back on the homeworld planet if he came to work on Earth, as Kerr reveals many things about the Cyclo homeworld along with their teleporters and other useful information. Johnny plans to overthrow the Cyclos and free the human race from their iron grip. Johnny then bribes Carr for a laser pistol by giving him coins hidden within his cage. With nothing to do, Terrell takes Johnny to the library as he wants him to find any books where they can mine for gold. While Johnny does this, he collects other books on all subjects of nuclear weaponry, physics, and power. However, when Johnny finishes getting all the books he needs and leaves the library, he finds Chrissy and her sister Patty. Johnny tries to get them to flee and uses the laser pistol against Terrell. But to his horror, Terrell has sabotaged the pistol as it won't fire and knows Carr gave it to him. Johnny attempts to attack Terrell with his club, but Terrell fires a warning shot, forcing Johnny to surrender. Terrell captures both Chrissy and Patty and threatens to kill them by placing explosive collars around their necks to ensure Johnny doesn't try to outsmart him again. Terrell states if Johnny does what he wants, he won't kill them. Johnny agrees to Terrell's mining project, knowing Terrell will kill them if he refuses. Terrell then blackmails Nuff to agree to anything Terrell wants, or he'll expose Nuff has been secretly taking funds for himself to the leaders back on Cyclo. Shocked and powerless to do anything, Nuff signs the form to Terrell's plan. After getting his freighter, Terrell and Johnny leave Denver and travel to Scotland. Terrell wants to capture 50 men to bring back to the mountains and have Johnny train them in mining. But Johnny knows Terrell will use brute force to capture and even kill a few if he has to making them surrender. Johnny convinces Terrell to let him do the talking and will bring in his 50 men. Once they land in the Scottish Highlands, Johnny travels on foot till he's greeted by a Scottish tribesman. He has a message for the leader and is taken to their chief. Reaching a fishing village, Johnny is taken to the tribe chief and explains how he got here, along with his mission to overthrow the Cyclos. He also warns if they refuse, the demon, as the Scottish call them, will attack everyone. The tribe chief calls for a meeting with the other tribes as they wish to overthrow the demons too. The next day, Johnny has Terrell take him high in the mountains where a large number of Scottish, English, and Norsemen all show up. Again, Johnny tells him he'll handle the talking as Terrell watches. Johnny tells everyone the horrible and evil things he has seen by the hands of Cyclos, along with Terrell has put him through, but states if they work together they can overthrow the Cyclos and reclaim their planet back from them. He also adds that Terrell or any other Cyclos can't understand a word of English and must follow his command to fool their enemies. Even act in fear, which he does during his speech. Instead of getting 50 men, Johnny is able to bring back 83 men and women to join his cause. Terrell grins, believing Johnny has done what he wanted, unaware what Johnny's true motives are. Once they return back to Denver, Johnny begins setting up the mining operation as men will work in the mines while the woman will handle all the cooking, cleaning, clothes, and those who aren't working in the mines will treat the injured and teach others on machine use. With the aid of Robert the Fox, Johnny has him sneak men into a military base to bring back any weapons they can use against the Cyclos, while mining tunnels within the mountains to avoid being spotted by recon drones. However, he needs a Geiger counter in order to find uranium. Johnny visits Terrell with a list of machines, vehicles, and other supplies he needs for his men and states he can fully train everyone within 2 months. Terrell tells Johnny he'll get what he wants. With Terrell is a female Cyclo with him, Chirk, who tells Johnny she's looking forward to being rich once she and Terrell return back to their home world. Now Johnny knows the reason why Terrell wants him to mine these mountains. During a conversation with Kerr in the mines, he reveals to Johnny that Terrell is sending back dead Cyclos to the graveyard back on their home world with the teleporters. Johnny figures out how Terrell is going to sneak the gold back to the Cyclo homeworld without any of the other Cyclo leaders knowing about it. While planning his attack, Johnny realizes the Cyclo's gas masks have a built-in Geiger counters. He has Robert the Fox and others sneak off into the base to steal the gas masks so they can salvage the Geiger counters. However, during that night, Johnny is nearly caught by 2 Cyclo patrols as he kills both of them. Johnny and his men continue to mine the mountains for gold while being hit with an intense winter storm, blasting and drilling their way through the rock surface as it's freezing cold within the mines. However, Johnny isn't finding much uranium, and even the few he does, he's unsuccessful to get it to react with Cyclo gas. Then Johnny remembers his home as the caves have lots of uranium and plans to get as much as he can there. Then one of his men, Angus, figures out how to set off the Cyclo gas with the uranium by using remote detonators. Meanwhile, Terrell has come under investigation from the IBI, Imperial Bureau of Investigation, by their top Cyclo agent, Jade. However, he is unsure if he's just checking Terrell's mine operation or he's onto his gold smuggling plan. This makes Terrell uneasy, knowing if he tries bugging or spying on him, Jade will find out about it, but at the same time, keeps a watchful eye on him to ensure he doesn't ruin months of planning this whole operation. Johnny is exploring the abandoned Carro military base with Robert the Fox, Dunnerdine, Angus, Four, and other Scots find a huge army of weapons, ammo, body armor, and other supplies they plan to bring back to base by stealing a freighter. However, what Johnny is looking for is nuclear weapons. While exploring the rest of the military base, they find the president's private helicopter along with documents of the Cyclo invasion. As Johnny learns, they used teleporters and sent gas to kill off a large number of humans, then assaulted the planet once the humans were weaker. The same gas the Cyclos used to breathe. He also finds the perfect weapon to wipe out their enemy, dirty nukes. Fearing his cover might be blown, Terrell comes out with a plan to cover his tracks quickly. First, he makes Carr his deputy, then calls Nunn for a meeting by saying Jade is investigating him and to have Jade come into Nuff's office. He does this as Terrell assassinates both Jade and Nuff by making it look like Nuff killed Jade then shot himself. With them out of the way, Terrell continues with his next phase of his plan, kill off the humans as he no longer needs them. After picking up a large shipment of gold from Johnny's men, Terrell orders them to drive his truck and as he takes theirs. A bomb goes off killing them while Terrell laughs. Just as Terrell is placing the gold inside the coffins back in base, Johnny launches an all-out assault on the Cyclo base with his army, causing massive damage and exploding the domes. Terrell tries luring Johnny into a trap while in the morgue. Johnny quickly attacks him with his club and rips off his mask. He flees the base and searches for Chrissy and Patty, but they are nowhere to be found. Instead, he finds a dead Cyclo in the cage with a knife in its chest. Coming to his aid is Edward the Fox as they race off to find the woman. However, in hot pursuit of them is Terrell, who tries killing them. Johnny then gets aboard a fighter plane and chases after Terrell as the two engage in a dogfight, with Johnny ramming his fighter into Terrell's, causing him to crash and bail out of the burning wreck. Johnny captures Terrell, holds him at gunpoint, and strips off his clothing, only leaving his mask as Johnny plans to keep him alive for answers, then kill him. However, Terrell reveals he's programmed a bomber drone to fly to Scotland and kill everybody with cyclo gas. Johnny leaves Edward the Fox in charge as he hops in a fighter plane and races after the bomber to save the remaining humans left. Johnny reaches the drone bomber and gets a radio call that there's a war breaking out with the Scots and Cyclos. Johnny tricks the Cyclo commander and blows the bomb bay doors with the fighter and gets on board the drone bomber as it would be too dangerous to shoot it down with the risk of the cyclo gas exploding. Johnny crash lands the bomber on Scotland. Zift, who's been sent to aid the Cyclos during the Scotland uprising, finds the wreck of the bomber drone. However, he is unable to leave his Mach 23 battle tank as Terrell has the security cards to unlock the hatch. Ziv tricks Johnny to pry the hatch open as he reveals Terrell's plan. Once on board the bomber drone, Zimp knocks out Johnny, believing he's dead, and gets another Cyclo to steal fuel from Johnny's fighter for the battle tank. Johnny awakens, treats his wounds, and finds the two Cyclos stealing his fighter plane's fuel. He shoots a fuel canister, blowing them up. Johnny passes out and awakens to find them gone, and the bomber drone is moving again. Limping back to his fighter plane, he uses the guns to blast himself backwards out, then destroys the bomber drone as it's away from Scotland and out in the open water. However, he lost a lot of blood and feels he's going to pass out. He crash lands back on Scotland and is saved by Dunnerdine. Johnny is taken back to Denver with his army waiting for him. After making a full recovery from his injuries, other people from around the world have traveled to form a council to help rebuild and repopulate the human race and to finish off the remaining Cyclo forces on Earth. However, in order to get the teleporters working again, Johnny plans to go to Africa to capture both live and dead Cyclos, along with gaining more uranium to ensure the Cyclo forces are defeated and can never attack Earth again. Johnny and his army find a Cyclo mining base within the thick jungles, along with finding ruins of old civilization. It isn't long until Johnny takes on an army of Cyclos as they put up heavy resistance, as many refuse to be captured, with some committing suicide. Despite taking a small number of casualties, but continues on with his plan, Johnny also has supplies sent both to Denver and other countries to aid them in the battle of the Cyclos. However, his biggest problem is getting the teleporters to work, as Cyclo math is based on the number 11, which Johnny finds it almost impossible to understand but refuses to quit as he keeps studying more of the Cyclos race and learning more of their past history, along with unlocking some secrets about them. Meanwhile, Terrell is visited by Johnny's rival, Brown Limper Staffer, with an army of cannibal mercenaries who wish to overthrow Johnny and claim Earth for his own gang. Staffer agrees to help Terrell out and puts Terrell back in charge so he can take the remaining gold he's got left and flee to his homeworld. Kerr sends Johnny a warning about Terrell's plan along with Staffer, who threatens his plans on defeating the Cyclos. Johnny races back to Denver to stop both Staffer and Terrell and send those dirty nukes to the Cyclo homeworld before Terrell sends in reinforcements to try and overthrow Johnny's army. It's a race against time as Johnny, Terrell, and Staffer are battling control for the whole planet of Earth, but they aren't the only ones who's interested in taking over their planet. Battlefield Earth was a fun-filled adventure with action, destruction, violence, and war. It had a lot of interesting characters, places, and moments that I really enjoyed. It has that old science fiction pulp era mixed with 80s action films and style, which makes it fun, yet not taking itself too seriously. The alien race Cyclos were a really interesting group of cruel yet smart and deadly savages that will even kill their own to accomplish their goals. Terrell was one mean yet cunning villain who tried to outsmart everyone for his own gain, but greed led to his downfall and doomed his whole race. Johnny was a fun, very likable, and cool character. Kerr was the only Cyclo I liked, and he was also funny. There were many other characters I liked in this story, and with others I disliked, especially Brown Limper Staffer, who I felt was cartoonish at times and trying to make himself like Killer and Napoleon, along with other things he did which I felt were silly at times. Well written detail and scenery as the story takes place in many locations across the world. The pacing was good as it never rushed the story but could get slow at times. There were many landmarks within the ruins of the old world and the planet of the Cyclos, as there was a great detail of lore to the alien invaders. However, despite this being a fun novel, I had many issues with it, such as the parts dragging on for too long towards the end of the novel, too much filler as having to read the subplots of alien investors who are charging the human race for unpaid debts was very far-fetched. Brown Liver Stafford having dollar bills made of him and trying to assure his wealth by gaining support from bankers and jury in Switzerland and able to buy Planet Earth from Johnny. And having to read parts where Johnny has to deal with another group of people and aliens trying to claim ownership of Earth really dragged on and made a bit of a chore to get through, especially towards the end of this novel. While the pacing was good, however, I felt the story would jump at times as I would have no idea what was going on or how the characters were now suddenly at a different place, and there were moments I had a hard time understanding what was going on. I felt this novel could have been shorter, with many of these issues I had cut out and focused more on the battles of the humans trying to overthrow the alien invaders, as I really wish there were more scenes of Johnny and other humans fighting against the Cyclos, and I wish the rival tribe battle between Brown, Lifford, Stanford, and Johnny could have been done a lot better. Lastly, I wish Ron wrapped up the ending rather than continue on with Johnny's new life, as he shows his hero disliking the fame he has gotten and would rather hide out from everybody else rather than be part of the new civilization, and disappears for no reason other than wanting to be all alone again. The ending could have been done a lot better. Overall, if you want to read this early 80s sci-fi post-apocalyptic alien invasion epic, that is up to you, as not everyone could handle a 1,000-page novel, as most will find it too long and thick to read. But if you choose to read it, it is a very entertaining and, the most part, a fun novel to read. Despite its flaws, I enjoyed it very much. And that's our review today. Hope you all enjoyed it. And like I said, I was completely surprised how fun this book was. A part of me was kind of expecting to be a really bad book, just as bad as the movie is. But the book was definitely a lot better. Despite its flaws, there definitely had a lot better moments in the book than the film had. And the one thing I really liked best about this book is how the Cyclos looked in this novel. They were more animal-like than what they did in the film. They strayed way too far from the source material and just changed everything around with the story and just kind of goofed around on it. The book definitely had a better plot, better, more crafted characters, and a lot of great scenery in this book. I really enjoyed reading the ruins of Denver, the cold freezing mines in Colorado when they're mining and stuff, and the other parts of the world this story shows. Doesn't show much of the Cycle homeworld. Like, you do get to see a bit of it in the novel, but overall the book was just a lot better. Despite its flaws, I really enjoyed it, and I was surprised. I didn't think I was going to like this book, but I ended up liking it, which is, like the old saying, you can't judge a book by its cover. And like I said, it's kind of like the old science fiction pulp era mixed with an 80s action flick. That's what this book reminds me of, because there's one funny part. I thought you'll only see this in like a 80s or 90s like action movie or something like that. There was a funny part where Johnny is battling against Terrell during the dogfight, and after he forces Terrell to crash his fighter and then crawls out of the burning wreck, Johnny goes up to him and holds him at gunpoint and says, "I thought you were dead when I ripped your gas mask off." And this was Terrell's response. He goes like this: "I could hold my breath for 4 minutes." I burst out in laughter when I read that line. It was so corny. It was funny. I thought that's good. They had a few other like funny dialogue and stuff in it, and um, it is very detailed. So it's I do like Ron's writing style. It is very detailed. The pacing was good. Um, but despite all that, I felt that this book is way too long. Like it, okay, a book like this should not be this thick. It should not. And I thought towards the end is where we're gonna have like this big battle against the cyclos and stuff. It that kind of is in the ending, but there's these whole other subplots of these are people now want to try to take over the Earth for themselves. Then you got these other aliens that want to invade the Earth, and then you got these like galactic investors that want to try to get money out of out of the humans for unpaid debt. Like, I really didn't like that part at all, and I felt if all this unwanted filler was cut out, this book would be a lot shorter than it is. Like, it didn't need to be like this thick. I I recall that the hardcover edition of the first edition of Battlefield Earth by St. Martin's Press is actually 800 pages, which takes off like 200 pages from this book. So despite so those other yeah, so those are my only issues with the book. Other than that, I really enjoyed it, and oh yeah, and the ending. I really did not like the ending to this book. Like, why does the main character suddenly want to hide out from everybody? Like, yes, he's living a good life. He marries Chrissy at the end. He has like children and stuff, but he would rather hide out in the forest than be part of the new civilization. I didn't get that part. I didn't get that part at all. And there was also a part where he is trying to help the remaining Cyclos on Earth rather than kill them off. Like, he's trying to keep some alive, which doesn't go well. So there's like only one Cyclo left, and that's Car, the one Cyclo I really liked in this story. So I felt the ending could have been done better too. So those are my only issues with the book. But other than that, I really enjoyed this, and I'm gonna have to replace this paperback with a nice big hardcover edition. As this book, you can see all those creases on the spine. There are parts when I was reading this book where the pages are splitting within the book. There are some pages also have faded ink, so there's like words that should be there and they're not there, and there's a tear in the page. So I'm going to replace the paperback with a nice hardcover edition of it. And I'm now curious to check out Ron Hubbard's other books too. Like, I want to check out, I heard that Fear is a really good one by him. Final Blackout's another one. And I remember seeing this series in Valley Village years ago, but I didn't get it. But that's okay. I can order the series, and I'm going to have to wait anyway because I need to make room on my shelves. His Mission Earth series, which is kind of similar to Battlefield Earth, where you got these aliens trying to take over the Earth, and there's all these like it sounds like a really wild and over the top story. So I'm looking forward to checking those books out, and maybe some other stuff by Ron L. Hubbard too, like maybe his early stuff. Oh, and one last thing I'd like to bring up with this video, I forgot to mention this in the earlier part of my video. I'm only interested in the offer side of L. Ron Hubbard. That's the only part of him that I'm just going to focus on, his fiction. That's all I wanted to talk about, is just his fiction. Anything to do with his Scientology organization, I don't want anything to do with that. I'm just here to talk about an author and his books. That's it, and that's all. Alright, now that's it for the review. For my next book, I've been wanting to do a review of a Robert Ludlum novel, and I decided to do my absolute favorite, The Aquatine Propagation. This is one of my favorite books by Robert Ludlum. A really good story, and I'm shocked this hasn't been made to a movie. This would make a really good movie. Unfortunately, this book is a brick too. This is almost 700 pages, so I'm going to read as many pages as I can to get a review up by this month. As I got some plans in March, so that will prevent me from posting any book reviews. So I'm going to try to get this done, and if I get this done within like next week, before this month is over, I got some shorter books that I have swamped out my other ones, so that way I can maybe squeeze in some other reviews in before March comes around. And I also gonna try to do some graphic novel manga reviews too soon. So that's gonna be my next book and my other plans for the channel as well. Alright, if you enjoyed this video, please like it, share, and don't forget to subscribe to October Library, the YouTube channel, and the Facebook group of the same name, a place to post, share, and review fiction. Until then, I'll catch you later.